And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar, right here on BearcatJournal.com. We are live from the Cincy Light Studios. And make sure you go out and see our good friends at Hail Mary's. They're located in Cheviot on Harrison Avenue. They're in the Dora District, so you can go from bar to bar with your drinks. But why would you do that? And just hang out at Hail Mary's. 27 TVs, 9-screen video wall. There's not a bad seat in the house. They have the DirecTV Sports package, so they stream all the games. And Cincinnati Sports will always be on the video wall. Brand new walk-in cooler, brand new draft lines. And not only do they pour the coldest Cincy Light around, but they do so in 32.8-degree beer frosted glasses. All right, Aaron, let's get this show on the road. It is Thursday night, so we'll be looking ahead to the Bearcats taking on Iowa State here momentarily. But first, had a chance to talk to Wes Miller today. I thought it was it's a little bit out of the norm for there wasn't a whole lot of coach speak. I didn't feel today. I thought he got into some strategy stuff. I thought I asked some really tough questions, some great questions.
He complimented you. The whole thing felt weird though. He came in and didn't have an opening soliloquy.
He usually does it on Thursdays.
Okay.
He just goes straight to questions.
Maybe I've missed that. I don't know. But it was I thought that felt a little strange. But yeah, not a ton here, I guess. He said it's a great opportunity to play Iowa State. They're one of the best teams in the country. They've only lost one game in 2 years in Ames. So they definitely have a tall task in front of them on Saturday. Scott reminded them that they had 25 turnovers the last time they played Iowa State last year. Jizzle and Day having 11 of those. But coach says they've matured and and the team's preparing the same way they do for any team. They're not doing anything special, as Scott alluded to, with playing 6-on-5 or 7-on-5. Oh, Scott. He's always good for one of those.
He's got strategies, Aaron. He's got strategies.
I love Scott. He said Momcilovic plus the 3 terrific guards. He didn't go out of his way to name any of the guards specifically. He just always called them the 3 guards throughout the entirety of the conference. But he said Momcilovic plus the 3 terrific guards spaced the floor out really well. And Momcilovic being back, of course, makes them a much different team. Go figure, a guy who's shooting 45% from 3 and
43.9, so 44% from 3.
No big deal,
right?
At 6'10".
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah. Said that Jizzle is a more complete player this season, as he had been compared to the Jizzle of the tournament last season in the NIT. He has a different role this year. He's much more significant to the team. He's being guarded differently, and over the course of the last several games, he's now playing confidently, as we've all been able to see. Going back to referring to all 3 guards for Iowa State, all 3 of them are aggressive. Not just Curtis Jones, as the question had been asked of Curtis Jones, but Curtis Jones will shoot it anywhere, everywhere, deep, inside. Yeah. It doesn't matter. He is about as aggressive as they come. We've talked many times over the course of this conference play when we do our recaps, and Curtis Jones is a dude. I feel like this was a strange response, but coach said he who starts and doesn't start isn't something that he's ever concerned with. And then went on to say that Dede was the most competitive guy, so they wanted him in the lineup. So he was concerned with who was starting. And they weren't taking that away from Dan, so don't get it twisted. He didn't do anything to get put in the bench role that he finds himself in now. But again, we're not concerned with who's starting and who's not, despite all of that.
Despite being concerned with who's starting and who's not. But yeah.
I guess that was about as coach speaky as we got.
Yeah.
Said that they need starting level production anyway from the first guy off the bench. They always thought they had 7 to 8 guys, especially when you had a healthy Connor Hickman, that were starter quality. Said that the most important thing of everything, the most important thing is guys are playing to their strengths and playing confidently. And we are finally seeing a Bearcats team that is hitting that in stride, and it's a lot more fun to watch than 2-8.
Agreed.
Said that guys did a great job preparing in the offseason for the grind of conference play. Specifically mentioned a tribute to Mike Rayfelt, and said that the team is in good mental and physical health despite the 20 games after Christmas plus travel being a grind.
It's almost
Also,
like somebody's been talking about that since it was announced, like last spring, that it was a terrible idea.
You just will never get me to understand why we have, in both football and basketball, why we have different conferences doing things very differently, but being held to the same standard at the end of the season. It's asinine.
That's how it works.
It's
That's how it
asinine.
works. There's no governing body, so everybody gets to decide how they want to, slice up the pie. And then at the end, everybody is judged on an arbitrary set of standards that doesn't fit the picture that everybody's got a different puzzle that they're turning in at the end of the year.
So everybody had a different piece. Everybody had a different piece of pie. Some people's pie was cut into sixths. Some people's pie was cut into eighths. And then you tried to put it in a pan and it didn't all fit. Weird. Wouldn't have guessed. So stupid. Said that this seems playing with confidence. That seemed to be a ringing theme of the day. Playing more free, playing well together. The ball is moving better. They're playing with a better pace. Thank God. And their cutting off the ball has been better. So they're seeing things moving off the ball has been noticeably better to coach. Said that Connor has had a hard time with his foot injury. He's tried to play through it and has no great expectation for the remainder of the year, but is also not ruling anything out. Said that defense is that good for Iowa State that teams are struggling to shoot it early or in the middle of the clock. It's an interesting dynamic that you don't see often, to be damn good on defense and play with freedom and pace on offense, but yet coach himself has found himself in that exact situation. Coaching at Greensboro.
Yeah, he said he had a team that was first in the conference in fastest tempo on offense, slowest tempo on defense, which is what Iowa State is doing. It takes incredible level of discipline to do that. Like to push the way that they push, and some of it is, like he mentioned, some of it is because they do force a lot of turnovers. They do get a lot of steals that allows them to score quickly. But their ability, like people are going to be frustrated Saturday because it's very difficult to get up and down on Iowa State. It's just, it's one of the things that they do really well. One, they make a lot of shots. When you make a lot of shots, it's a lot easier to get back in position defensively. But that's one of the things that when you're looking, and we'll get to that here in a minute, when you're looking at that resume, like that's one of the things that jumps out at me is the ability to play fast on offense and then to grind teams out on defense.
Yep. And lastly, Taman Lipsey is a good on-ball defender with very good defensive instincts. I think that was about all we said about Taman Lipsey.
Yeah, I mean, he's, let's see. Leads him in steals. He's got almost 50 steals on the season. Him, Jefferson, Gilbert, and Jones are just a menace. They're a pest. And they play a style that makes it very difficult for you to get in to any rhythm offensively. So we can go ahead and get into looking at Iowa
Transition.
State. That is what we call a transition. This is Otzelberger's best offensive team, I think, unquestionably, that he's had at Iowa State. They've been outstanding on defense since he took over. He said he was willing to sacrifice a little defense to be a little bit better offensively. They have fallen, Aaron, all the way to 7th in the country in defensive efficiency. So quite the fall off from where they were a year ago. But, I mean, in comparison, just, last year, 52 on offense, 1 on defense. This year, 18 on offense, 7 on defense. So they're a monster, man. They are really, really difficult.
Well, you bring up the fact that this is his best offensive team. You have Curtis Jones has elevated his game immensely.
Yeah.
To go from 11 points just a season ago per game to 17.4 this season. He took a monumental leap to get to there, and that was the same leap that we had hoped that we would see out of Dan Skillings, out of Jizzle James. You're starting to see that here of late from Jizzle, where he's coming on very strong. But you'd see we put a lot of eggs in that basket for other guys on this team to make the same leap while also maintaining a level from just a season ago. Seamoss has fallen. He is not the same player he was a season ago. So you're seeing regression from some players. You're seeing lateral moves from other players, and they're seeing that elevation that we had hoped we would see.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe it's just me. I think Lipsy has dipped a little bit from his play last year.
I agree.
He's still really good. That's not to take anything away from him. And we've seen him have really good games, but it felt like last year he was more consistently really good.
It's a step back.
And some of it could just be as simple as because of Jones' explosion,
right?
He's not being asked to carry as much of the load offensively as he was before. But I mean, you're looking at he's 30%, 30.9% from three. He's not getting to the line, it doesn't feel like, as much as he did last year. He's still around 50% from two. So he can break you down. He can get to the rim. He can score. He's got a nice little pull-up game. But Jones and Gilbert have been really the two standouts for them. Jones is just a volume guy that just keeps coming. Like he can start 0 for 6. That's not slowing him down. He's still going to keep firing because he's confident enough that, that 0 for 6, 0 for 5 isn't going to matter, and he's going to make the next 4. And he's that good of a shooter. I mean, on heavy volume, he's at 37.5% from three.
Lipsy's down about 2 points per game this season.
Yeah.
From last season, he's at 10.4. Last season, he was at 12.4. He's also shooting. He averaged 10 field goals a game last season. This season, he's only taking 7.8. So, yeah, to your point, he's still taking he's taking slightly more threes, but nothing to worth mentioning. Almost identical, but just the field goals are down.
Gilbert worries me because he is kind of their do everything guard, right? Like he doesn't shoot it great, but he doesn't shoot it a ton. He's only 31% from three, but he's only taken about 3 a game, averages about 1 a game, but he gets to the line, 106 free throw attempts, which is number 1 on the team. He's their leading assist guy at 107. He's their lead, he's up there in steals. He can rebound, averages 14.7, so right around 15 points a game. Like Jones is the guy that if he gets hot, he can bury you. But it feels like Gilbert is kind of remember how I talked about at the beginning of the year where I thought Seamoss would end up being the leading scorer because he was just going to be steady. That hasn't played out, but that is kind of what's played out. Jones has had those big 30-point, 35-point games. Feels like Gilbert's at like 15 to 18 points every night.
Well, if you're into patterns, and I like patterns, the last, I can go back as far as you want, but if we look at the last 5 games, Gilbert's point totals have been 15, 8, 11, 8, 17, 12, 21, 13. So there's a lot of up, down, up, down, up, down. We're due for a down. So
he's still, if 8 is your off night, you're pretty damn consistent.
In his last 8, where he had 8 points, he also had 8 assists and 4 rebounds. So
Right.
would love that from a down game from, I don't know, Dan Skillings, where if you're only
Right.
going to score 8 points, go ahead and get you some
Right.
in other places on the stat sheet. Don't just throw your hands up.
And then, Momcilovic, he's like 6'8", 6'9". I think we've exaggerated a little on how big he is.
He's listed 6'8".
Yeah. He can shoot it, he can pass it. He missed 7 games with the injury, but he's still a heavy volume guy that provides spacing, that can pass. You'd probably like him to rebound a little bit more than what he does at that size, but he's going to hang out on the perimeter more often than not. He's one of 5 guys in double figures for them. And then Deshaun Jackson is at 9. So 17 and a half, 14.7, 12.8, 10.4, 10.1, 9.0. I mean, they rely on their first 6 guys to do almost all of their damage, and they play well as a unit. They complement each other. They can use a bunch of different kind of combinations of guys amongst those 6 to get everybody rest up and down the lineup. They'll play 7 or 8, but it's the main 6 guys that, some combination of those 6 are on the floor almost exclusively. I want to feel good about this one, Aaron. And they've lost 2 games at home in like 1 game at home in like 740 days.
1 game in 2 years, as Coach alluded to.
Yeah.
We talked about that and talking, but the only thing I feel good about as far as Momcilovic goes is the fact that we have arguably our best defender this season on him.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Do they use him on him? Do they maybe put him on Gilbert? Do they? I mean, I don't know. I think logically, you would see Dylan Mitchell on Momcilovic, but I'm not positive of that. I'm not certain of that.
I'll be surprised personally. I'll be surprised if he's not on him, given the threat he could end up being. Because who else are you gonna put on him? Seamas,
yeah, because he
I don't love that.
But he's not athletic. Like, he's not if you put Seamas on him, you can just pretty much attach Seamas to him. Like, he's not going to beat you off the bounce. He's not, you know what I mean? He's not going to do a bunch of stuff physically that makes it difficult on Seamas. I think he's probably like the ideal match, because you're going to put Seamas on Gilbert or Jones. Otherwise,
no. Yeah, valid point. I don't know. I think lineups will be intriguing tomorrow. I think rotations will be intriguing tomorrow, or Saturday rather. Just because I think that this is truly a chess game, and I think it's going to be closer than we probably are giving it credit for. I know that we've talked anywhere.
I think they can keep it close. I just don't have a great feeling that they can win. Like, it's just going to be. That's a great challenge, as Butch Jones used to say all the time.
Well, ESPN agrees with you, giving Cincinnati a 17.3% chance to win this game. That's not great. The lines, of course, aren't out yet. Anything less than 7.5, I'll be surprised.
They need to be in good position the first 10 minutes. Like, they cannot go in there and let Iowa State blitz them from the jump. Like, I think if they can hang around the first 10 minutes, they can hang around most of the game and give themselves a chance to win in the back end of the second half. But if they come out and, I mean, you remember last year, like, it was instant. That pressure just swallowed Cincinnati up, and they had no chance to win that game.
Well, one of the things that we've seen this season as well with the referee crews for the Big 12 has been the allowance of a lot of physical play. And if Iowa State comes out just flexing that defensive prowess via power, via just getting dirty, I don't know that Cincinnati is going to be able to answer that.
The crazy thing is they don't get called for a lot of fouls.
Nobody has in this, at least
yeah.
from our experience. There's not been a game where anybody's really been in foul trouble on either team.
The wild part, Aaron, is they average over 20 free throws a game. Like they get to the line a lot. Where are they at nationally?
20 games, pretty decent.
They're they're basically 49th in the country in free throw rate. So
Also,
they don't foul much. They don't put teams on the line a lot, and they get to the line a lot. That is, I always look at that because it's one of those ways. Like if Cincinnati can stay clean defensively, you take away a pretty big window of points because they are a really good shooting team. They're shooting 75%, 74.6% from the line. So you'd give a left arm for that, wouldn't you? 75% from as a team from the free throw line.
I mean, that's way better than anything we've seen
60,
this season.
63 or whatever it is. So yeah, that's a way Cincinnati can neutralize some of what Iowa State does. If you don't put them to the free throw line, you're taking away a pretty big chunk of points that they count on.
Interesting note. Jizzle James is your new points leader, points per game.
Yes.
11.7 compared to CMOS's 11.5. He's fallen off. Be really cool to have a CMOS game here. That'd be for him to have a Gabe Matson game and maybe stop when you get to 8 instead of continuing to just auto fire.
I mean, even in the games they lost, Aaron, they were still shooting 20 plus or right in the 18, 20, 22 free throws in that 3-game losing streak. If you can keep them off the line, I feel a lot better because they count on 15, 17, 20 points a game from the free throw line. And that's how teams get up in that 75, 80 point a game average is they just shoot like a shit ton of free throws. Yeah.
We average like 4 points per game from the line.
It's like 7. Come on. You're being harsh. It's like 7.
Okay.
All right. That's going to wrap it up. Remember, Holy Grail. If you can't make it to the Holy Grail, Saturday for the game, head to Hail Mary's, depending on what part of town you're in. And let's get a Bearcats win. We'll see you next time. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar, live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!